In this video, I want to talk to you about creating what are called hub notes. These are notes that just lead to other notes. So it's a nice little place to kind of go, all right, here are the big ideas. This could be just, for some people, their hub note is just this one long note with a bunch of text in it. And that's fine to work through. I find it to be much easier if instead of making this big, giant introduction article on, today we're looking at the book of Job, but rather to look at those bite-sized ideas and kind of lump them all together to create an introduction. And I develop those by reading things and listening to things and looking at the book itself, and that helps me come up with some of this. So that's what I want to do here in this text. I've been studying the book of Job because I've been teaching it in a Bible class at my church, and as I've been doing it, I've been using this system called the Zettelkasten system to create notes that will help me in the future. And I saved up creating this hub note just so I could make a video on it. And I think this is going to be helpful for people to see what it looks like when we're making these hub notes and why it's really useful to make. So let's jump in here and start. I've got some of the big ideas that I want to notice in the book of Job, and that begins with just linking them and having them all on one page. So this is a kind of a creation video as far as what it looks like when we do this. So let's begin. Actually, we could create a few of these because I know we're going to make a few of them here. So here we are going to insert. So I'm going to look these up, and because this is using org-rome, it's got a nice filter search here. So if I just type in Job, notice here I've got some of my classes on Job here, but also I've got some here, notice like the key ideas of the book. And I'm going to use, obviously, these here to include them. So I'm going to hit key idea, and then there, principle of retribution in Job. Probably also do another one. So Job, the principle, the character of Job. I want to add that one there. What I've done here is I've added a few of these big ideas in the book of Job, and you notice here that some of them start with the word Job. That is redundant, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove some of that. That way it just looks a little bit nicer. All right, so I made it look a little bit nicer here. So I've got these texts here, and what's nice about this is that I can look at the book of the overall Job without having to scroll through a bunch. In fact, if I wanted to even go even further, you can fold those in like that. So here's a big idea, the principle of retribution in the book of Job, and here's a little bit of about that here. And notice here that I'm creating links to other sections here. I may do a video on creating a Zettelkasten and a note and what that looks like, but there's a lot of videos on that already, so I'm not going to do that. But that is what the Job it looks like here. Now, I'm going to come back to these notes, and they're not fully developed yet. So if you're reading this thinking, there's so much more you could have added here. Yeah, there is. But the idea of a note is, number one, make sure it's just a single idea, and you're not like giving all the information you could possibly give in one single note. You're doing bite-sized ideas. That way, they're easier to manage when you're working with them. So that's what I like that for. But you notice here I've got principle of retribution in Job. On top of that, I have just the whole thing about the principle of retribution. And I mainly made this argument or made this note because I was dealing with the book of Job. But this idea of retribution, or the law of sowing and reaping, I could probably rename it to that because that's sometimes what you feel more like it. Or even, the Latin lex talionis is included there. So I could do that. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to delete that, because if you go to this one, the link is right. Oops. Fix the link there. Oops. So we're back. So there's my big ideas here. So what I could go further with is just put in like the setting. And, if I'm going to make this more of an introduction, I could create some notes about the setting versus just making this one long article there as well. And you might think, well, that's not great because it's just a little choppy in this. To me, I like it better because it's scannable initially. So I can just kind of like walk through these things and see them at a glance, but also because they are small like this, if I'm writing an article or if I've got another set of hub notes, like maybe want to do a whole article on God's righteousness in the book of Job. Well, I've got some of the building blocks already listed here in this text, and so I could just take some of those building blocks and create another hub note with the focus of the note not just being the overallness of the book of Job, but rather the specific idea of God's righteousness in the book of Job. And I've already got some of that written, so I don't have to copy and paste. All I have to do is open that up, use a few lines of text, and then start to comment or start to link those notes to it. That, to me, is what's the great beauty of this particular system of using hub notes in general. I've got some notes I've already done on the book of Proverbs, because when I taught the book of Proverbs previously, I made some notes on it as well. Not as many, because I'm still like trying to figure out the best way to implement all this stuff. But one of the ways I do this is just add some of these ideas already. Actually, let me do all right, so here is the text, and I'm just going to add some of this. So just looking at Proverbs, and I notice I've got some here. I'm just adding these things. There we go. So these are all from the first 9 chapters, because this is what I did the study on, was just the first 9 chapters. I've included these here because I've done all of this because that's what I studied and got some good notes on that. So anytime now look at the book of Proverbs, I can go, I've got my table of contents, and what are the big ideas? The reason why I call this table of contents, you can just call this Proverbs hub note, is because eventually I am wanting to just add all the books inside here, just links to them. They're right there. I don't know how helpful that is for people, but I probably should rename that to something else. Anyways, that's what I'll do. I'll have those ideas there, have the big ideas, and link to them, then just kind of continue on and making more notes as I go and trying to create those connections. And eventually, the whole idea behind the Zettelkasten system, I believe, is you don't know what connections there are. And so the more connections you begin to make that you know of, then all of a sudden, you're going to find 2 notes that you didn't think were connected. But because you included certain keywords or certain other notes to them, they'll line up and you go, oh, wow, that's a brilliant idea. I need to think about that idea more, how these 2 ideas are connected together. And then there you go, making some more observations and some more notes on it. And that's where the fun really begins. This is really, I think, would be great in the realm of typology about Jesus in the Old Testament. And I think that's probably where a lot of this I'm excited to learn and to do. So hub notes are excellent ways of organizing your thoughts so that you can reuse those ideas in other sections of your note-taking, and so you can scan it easier when you're looking through what those big ideas are. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.